Ferrari may have started the 2026 season with what fans described as a very basic and underwhelming SF-26, but by the time of that second pre-season test ended, that was completely turned on its head. Ferrari revolutionized rear rings, that is for certain, with teams such as Red Bull and Aston Martin bringing their own versions very soon. But outside of that, there was another piece of innovation on the rear end of their SF-26. That is, of course, the vertical plate, which is directly connected to the exhaust pipe. Engineers believe this could give Ferrari a lap time advantage of half a second, and that is major in the world of Formula 1. Now in this video we're going to dissect what exactly this device is doing, how it is legal, and why it is going to be extremely difficult for any other team this season to integrate it onto their cars to the same degree. Let's get going. So the exhaust flap in general is very much linked to Ferrari's power unit and the engine modes and how it has to be used in 2026. You see, throughout the race, they need to recharge the battery, which has forced all engine manufacturers to also use the ICE as an electrical generator, which will keep the V6s at higher revs and with a constant combustion, which will be producing exhaust gases even throughout corners. So think of it in a sense as exhaust blowing without it actually being exhaust blowing, because that is still outlawed. But what's going to happen is you're going to get the exhaust kind of just still pumping out gases in all slow, medium and high speed corners as a result and need to do so. So throughout all the corners, what this flap is going to be doing is blowing the rear ring, as you can see in this image here. The direction of the exhaust gases is being directed up to the bottom side of the rear ring, improving downforce across all speed range of corners. Of course, this also has many other advantages which will be in play and as a happy coincidence. One of those will be tyre wear as a result of the improvement in downforce. It's going to help the Ferrari team and its drivers and car manage tyre wear, tyre temps that much more better than their competitors as a result of this device. That means when it comes to FP2 this Friday, pay close attention to the lap times, particularly if they have a considerable stint in that. I think towards the back end, quite naturally, you're going to see the advantage start to kick in at that point in time, and if not, you should see it in the race if it is of course dry. But just pay attention throughout FP2s in all the sessions and of course the races we have. And this advantage is only going to be increased when we come to rear limited circuits and tracks and conditions through which tyre wear is in excess in comparison to all the others. Think Singapore for its heat. You can add, of course, Silverstone just for the amount of stress that goes through the tyres. Those sorts of circuits, keep an eye on them as well. But the $1 million question I'm sure you all have and wonder is, how is this all possible? Because while the rules have always allowed teams and their design departments to place an aerodynamic device in the exact area Ferrari have placed theirs, which internally is known as FTM, this was so long as it doesn't exceed 60 millimeters from the axle, which would normally mean the device would not be able to extend beyond the end of the exhaust. Well, that has everything to do with how they've packaged the rear end of the SF-26. The team have been rumoured to have spent 6 months in developing this design and its integration into their design philosophy for 2026. A considerable length of time for what is such a small part of the car in terms of the physical nature of this exhaust flap. It's so small. But that is always the case in Formula 1. You can never underestimate how such a small and relatively simple looking solution can provide such a huge advantage for a team in the sport. For the SF-26, the rear end of the car has been packaged entirely differently to that of most teams. The gearbox has been researched, designed and manufactured around this concept, and the differential, more importantly, has been moved as far rearwards as possible in the regulations. That final point is what has allowed the team to mount the exhaust flap just in front of the exhaust tailpipe and create the blowing effect towards the rear ring's surface. And that final explanation is why it is going to be extremely difficult for any team in this season to implement it into their 2026 car. They have to completely redesign the rear end, and that is where the difficulties lie. You don't have the budget to be able to do that in this new era of Formula One with all of the financial restrictions which are in place by the FIA. The budget cap just simply doesn't allow it. If you were to do that, you would probably have to sacrifice the majority of all your other upgrade plans that you have in place and in your mind to be able to do such a major change. And that is where Ferrari's major advantage for this season could come into play. If it does turn out to be a huge game changer for the team and one of the things teams need to implement, that advantage is going to be here for the rest of the season. Something they should be able to make use of and take advantage of. Because of course I believe Ferrari have a very good platform for them to mount a title challenge this season. Yeah, I know we hear that a lot, but I think from what we've seen, the innovation, the team, the drivers, the personnel, the team principal, everyone seems very chill, very happy, very confident, something we haven't seen from the team in quite a while. So Melbourne is going to be very, very interesting just to see what unfolds there, particularly in the second practice session, if it's dry, to see the lap times, to see if Ferrari have an advantage over that of their rivals. And I think with the introduction, no doubt later on down the line, of Ferrari's extravagant, revolutionary rear ring, which will be on the car at some point this season, which is going to work in tandem with this exhaust flap in the diffuser of the SF-26, that advantage may only grow.